Alright guys, so in this video we're going to create a spinner component, and we're also going to add our API keys for GitHub so that we don't run out of requests. So in the source folder, I just have my Finder open here, but I'm going into source, components, and layout, and I have a GIF, a spinner.gif file. And I will, if I remember, I'll put it in the project files for this lecture. However, you can find it in the GitHub for the project, which I gave you in the beginning. So I'm going to paste that in, spinner.gif. Now I'm going to create a new component in layout called spinner.js. And this is going to be pretty simple. This is going to be a functional component, an arrow function component. And with the extension that we're using, we can do RACF. And that will create an arrow function for us. Now we want to bring in the spinner. And we can import images because of, whoops, I don't want two cursors here. But we can import images because of Webpack, because of how it's set up under the hood. So let's say import spinner from /spinner.gif, which, yeah, it's right there. All right, and then let's actually use a fragment here. So I'm going to bring in fragments, and we'll change this to fragment, and then inside here let's put an image with a source of spinner, and then a little bit of styling. Okay, actually for the alt I'm going to say loading ... and then a little bit of styling. So I'm going to do inline style, which we need double curly braces, and I'm going to do a width of 200 pixels. Actually, this needs to be in quotes. So 200 pixels. Let's do margin auto so that it's in the middle, and let's do display block so that we can actually do margin auto, and that should be good. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that. Now, one thing with arrow functions, if we don't have any other JavaScript up here and we just have the return, we can actually return this directly. Like, we don't even need that. We don't need any of that. We can simply return the fragment like that, just to kind of, you know, get rid of some lines of code. So now we have our spinner.js, our spinner component. So now I'm going to go into users.js, and remember, this users component we got passed in, if we look at app.js, got passed in loading and users as a prop. So we have a couple things we need to do in that case. One thing I think we should do is turn this into a functional component, because there's really no reason for it to be a class anymore, because there's no state. It's just being passed in props, right? So let's change this to a function. We'll say const users, and we can get rid of this, and we'll just say equals, and then any props that are passed in can go in there. So we could do props, and then down here use, you know, props.users, props.loading. Instead, I'm going to destructure and just pull out users and loading. Okay, and then right here where we have this .props.users, we can just simply now say users, because that's getting passed in and destructured as a prop. All right, now we don't need a render, so we can completely get rid of the render. We just need the return. And just this should work. Let's check it out. Okay, so that still works. Now there's some other things we need to do here. I want to bring in the spinner. So let's say import spinner, and we want to bring that in from, we want to go up one level, so .. into layout, and then spinner. And then what I'll do is let's do an if statement right here, or an if else, and let's say if loading, which is being passed in from the app.js state, if it's loading, let's return the spinner. Else, then we're going to do what we've been doing, which is return all of the users. All right, so let's save that. Let's try it out. So now when I reload, real quick, you can't even see it because it's too fast, but if it took longer, you would see the spinner. Now this is probably going to get exhausted soon because I haven't added my API key yet, so we're going to do that in a minute. But I just want to add our prop types because now we have users and loading as props. So let's do IMPT, which for some reason Emmet's not working. I might have to restart my editor here. Sometimes that happens, but let's bring in prop types from prop dash types, and then down at the bottom here, let's say users, the name of the component, dot prop types, lowercase p, and we have users, which is an array, so PTAR, enter, which isn't working. After this section, I'll reload my my editor. So we want array, and we want is required. All right, and then we also have loading. Let's just actually copy that down. So loading is a Boolean, so we want to use bool and set that to loading. Okay, so that should do it for users. Let's make sure it still works. Good. Now, in the next video, I want to add our GitHub API credentials because this is going to get exhausted soon and it's not going to allow us to make any more requests. So we're going to do that. I'm also going to show you how to create environment variables so that you can have variables that you can access basically from anywhere within your React application. So we'll get into that next.